She texted, "We are pregnant," but the Instagram tag said otherwise. After 4 years together, I was elated when Natalie announced we were expecting, until her best friend's post revealed the baby was Garrett's. In the span of a week, I went from doting fiancé to delivering gift baskets at Garrett's office, weathering family interventions, social media smears, bill cancellation warfare, and even a restraining order. Through the chaos, I refused to bankroll another man's child, documented every petty attack, and walked away stronger. Proof that sometimes the best response is simply refusing to be anyone's plan. BI 29 male got a text from my girlfriend. Natalie, 27, 3 days ago. That should have been the happiest moment of my life. We've been together for 4 years, living together for 2, talking about marriage, kids, the whole future thing. The text came at 2:47 p.m. while I was in a meeting. "Babe, we are pregnant. Can't wait to tell you everything tonight." My heart stopped. Happy tears almost started right there in the conference room. I managed to text back, "OMG, this is incredible. I love you so much. Can't wait to celebrate tonight." I spent the rest of the day floating. Told my assistant I'd be leaving early. Stopped by a fancy wine shop to get sparkling grape juice, the expensive stuff. Hit up the florist for 2 dozen roses. Even grabbed a tiny pair of baby shoes from the boutique next door because I couldn't help myself. Got home at 5:30. Natalie wasn't there yet. I started setting up candles, flowers, the works. While I was waiting, I did what any excited almost dad would do. Opened Instagram to see if she'd posted anything. She hadn't, but her best friend Rochelle had. 2 hours earlier, she'd posted a picture of Natalie with some guy I recognized, Garrett from her CrossFit gym. Natalie was holding up a pregnancy test. Garrett had his hand on her stomach. Both were grinning like idiots. Caption, "So beyond happy for these two. Secret's finally out. Baby Morrison coming next summer. R and Natalie B are Garrett Strong 24. You guys are going to be amazing parents. Love you both." Garrett's last name is Morrison. I sat there staring at my phone for 10 minutes, reading it over and over, checked the tagged profiles to make sure it was really them. It was. The tiny baby shoes were still sitting on the counter. I texted Natalie, "Hey, quick question. Who exactly is we in We Are Pregnant?" Seen at 5:52 p.m., no response. She came home at 6:15, saw the whole setup, and her face went white. Definitely not the happy surprise I'd planned. "You saw Rochelle's post, didn't you?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Not a question," I said. "Yeah." She started crying, but angry tears, not sorry tears. "She wasn't supposed to post that yet. I was going to tell you the right way to tell me my girlfriend is pregnant with another man's baby. I managed. How long? 3 months. But I was going to end it. I swear it just happened." 3 months, I repeated, stunned. "So you've been telling me you loved me every night for 3 months while screwing Garrett at the gym?" She refused to leave. "It's my apartment too," she insisted. "We need to talk about this like adults." "Fine, let's be adults. Are you keeping it?" "Yes." "Does Garrett know?" "Yes, he's excited." "Are you leaving me for him?" "No, I love you. This was just a mistake. He's not you. You're the one I want to build a life with." I laughed. "But you're having his baby. We can make this work. Plenty of blended families exist. You'd be such a good stepdad." Stepdad? To the baby she conceived while cheating on me. I told her to pack a bag and stay with Rochelle. She cried harder but eventually left. She kept texting me all night about how I was overreacting, how modern families come in all shapes, how love conquers all. I blocked her at midnight. Update 1. Holy hell, the entitlement is off the charts. Yesterday, Natalie came to get her stuff, but not alone. She brought a whole crew, Rochelle, her mother Sandra, and plot twist, Garrett. They showed up at 10 a.m. I'd already packed her things in labeled boxes by the door, planning a quick handoff. Instead, I got a full intervention. Sandra started immediately. "Sweetie, I know you're hurt, but throwing away 4 years over a little mistake, that's not the man I know." A little mistake? Getting pregnant by another man is a little mistake? I stayed calm. "Sandra, she can take her boxes and go. This isn't a discussion." Garrett stepped forward, CrossFit gear everywhere. "Bro, we need to talk man to man." "Actually, we don't. Take the boxes. Leave." "Look, I get it. You're pissed. But Nat and I, it wasn't serious. Just physical." "She loves you, dude. I'm not trying to take your girl." "You already did. Plus, you put a baby in her. Congratulations, by the way. How'd your girlfriend take the news?" His face went red. "That was messed up, man." I pressed on. "So you lost your job too? HR said the drama was disruptive to company culture?" "Wait, he lost his job?" "You sent that basket to my workplace." HR got involved. Bingo. Natalie jumped in. "See what you did? You didn't just hurt me. You hurt Garrett. He needs this job for the baby. Good thing that's not my problem anymore, I said. Sandra. How can you be so heartless? My daughter made one mistake, I shot back. She came to you pretending I was the father. That's proper manipulation. Rochelle, who'd been quiet, finally spoke. I was going to tell you the truth eventually. It was a test. She wanted to see if you'd step up first. They wanted me to fund their blended fairy tale, pay their bills, find Garrett a job, bankroll another man's child. The audacity. I refused to be their doormat. I got everything loaded into my car. They left in a huff, nobody saying goodbye, except Rochelle filming the whole thing. Last night, I got a text from an unknown number, Garrett. Hey man, weird situation. Did she ever cheat before? Just wondering what I'm getting into here. I didn't respond. The fact he was already doubting her tells me everything. This morning, my Facebook blew up. Rochelle posted her video, edited to make me look cold and heartless, cut out all context. Comments were 50-50 calling me trash and asking for the full story. I finally responded with a screenshot of Rochelle's original congratulations post, tagging everyone who'd commented. The tide turned quickly. Today, I'm changing my locks. I feel like this isn't over. Called it. It wasn't over. After the Facebook drama died down, the real-world harassment began. First, financial. Texts from Natalie about our bills, her car insurance, phone bill, credit card payments. Turned out she'd been auto-paying $473 a month from my account for 2 years without me noticing. I canceled everything. She freaked, showed up at my apartment, banging the door late Wednesday. My phone got shut off. Insurance lapsed. She screamed I was ruining her life while pregnant. I told her to leave or I'd call the cops. She left, but threatened, "You'll regret this when you're alone and I have a beautiful family." Thursday, I ran into trouble at work. An anonymous email accused me of harassing a pregnant former partner and creating a hostile environment with revenge porn, i.e., Rochelle's original post. HR rep Janet was competent. I showed her everything. She closed the complaint and told me to document everything. Friday was quiet. Saturday morning, my car was covered in shaving cream and nasty messages. Deadbeat abandoner, real men step up. Security camera footage showed Rochelle and 2 helpers at 3 a.m. I filed a police report. Damages minor but needed documentation. Sunday, I ran into Natalie and Garrett at the grocery store, her visibly pregnant, him trying to calm her. She accused me of making me shop generic brands, but I calmly pointed out she chose Garrett, got pregnant by him, and now wanted my help. Garrett chimed in, begging me to help out a little for old time's sake. The entitlement, I just want to help, not pay. I refused. An elderly shopper told Natalie, "You made your bed. Let the man shop in peace." Priceless. Last night, I got a long email from Natalie accusing me of emotional and financial abuse, threatening legal action. My lawyer friend Marcus responded, "She has no case. Keep documenting. Maybe get a restraining order." I did. After my restraining order filing, things went quiet for a week. Too quiet. Then I got a letter from a bus bench lawyer demanding palimony. I responded with a formal pound sand letter citing case law. Then Natalie and Garrett busted into my workplace, crying harassment, handing out a payment plan envelope for $500 a month support. Security removed them, labeled them trespassers. They tried to claim I owed support while pregnant. Their meltdown got them banned. My landlord called saying someone had anonymously accused me of running a drug operation. He checked and laughed, gave me a discount for the entertainment value. Then Natalie started a TikTok series. Dating while pregnant, abandoned, single mom, implying I was the father. Comments shredded me until listeners noticed Garrett in the background. She swiftly deleted those. Garrett's ex posted, "Girl, you got pregnant by my boyfriend while you both had partners. Stop playing victim." Ouch. Last Monday, I found ultrasound photos taped to my door with a note. "Your last chance to be part of something beautiful. Don't let pride ruin 3 lives. Hers, Garrett's, and the baby's." That was my cue. Filed for and obtained a restraining order Tuesday. They were served Wednesday. Natalie's meltdown on service prompted a 911 call. Thursday, Sandra left me a voicemail. "I hope you're happy. My daughter is on bed rest from the stress you caused. That baby's health is on your conscience." I replied in my head. That's my conscience talking? She's not my baby. I didn't cheat. Friday, I ran into a friend who wasn't buying Natalie's story. Updates slowed after that. I've changed my locks, phone number, deleted social media, informed HR. They truly believed I should fund their family, the one they planned without me. I'm done with this circus. Therapy's helping me rebuild trust and boundaries. I've taken up woodworking and even got a promotion. Apparently, my obsessive documentation got me noticed for organization skills. I'm happier than I've been in years. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be anyone's plan B, safety net, or wallet. Natalie's baby is due in 3 months. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. Peace out. I went undercover before starting as the new district health inspector to see how kitchens really operated. Chef Randy shoved me in the walk-in freezer for 20 minutes, saying, when I let her out, she'll either blow me or never work in this town again. Then he posted my home address in a restaurant group chat with my photo, warning, watch out for the scammer. Within hours, chefs were showing up at my apartment door, while others spray-painted "Liar Lives Here" on my wall. I was set to begin my official duties next week, but instead of a grand entrance, I wanted one quiet day of behind-the-scenes visits. Nothing could have prepared me for Chef Randy, the head chef other inspectors had called untouchable. I walked in through the delivery entrance wearing old sneakers and a messy bun, looking like any other job seeker. Randy, at his prep station, didn't even glance up from his chopping. "Kitchen's not hiring. Hostess applications are at the front," he said, pointing vaguely toward the door with his knife. Before I could respond, he grabbed my shoulders, spun me around, and pointed me toward the exit. I felt discarded, like a piece of trash. I decided to stand my ground. "I have experience in food service," I said calmly. That got his attention. He finally looked up and laughed loud enough to make other cooks turn and watch. "Free entertainment." "Guys!" he called out. "Another one who thinks watching cooking shows makes them a chef?" He circled me, narrating baby talk. "Does the widow girl know how to hold a knife? Can she wash a dishy-wishy?" Then he dumped a bus tub of dirty plates in front of me. "Show me you can handle the easiest job first." I started washing dishes, keeping my expression neutral while Randy performed for his team. I went undercover as the new district health inspector, only to be locked in a freezer, publicly smeared as a scammer, and terrorized by an entire network of chefs before my first official inspection. I dressed like a job seeker to slip into Randy's kitchen and witness real operations, until he dragged me behind the scenes, bullied me with fire and knives, and posted my home address in a restaurant group chat. Within hours, angry cooks were at my door and spray painting "Liar Lives Here" on my wall. Still, I refused to walk away. Over the next week, I meticulously documented every threat, violation, and confession, transforming Randy's smear campaign into the evidence that would topple his untouchable reign and forge a safer, more accountable culinary community. When I reached for an ingredient to inspect, he turned on the burner right beneath my hand as a prank. Flames shot up. I yanked my hand back just in time. He shoved a spoon at my face. "Taste this sauce. Open up." Before I could react, he dropped a knife near my feet. It clattered inches from my sneakers. The kitchen erupted in nervous laughter. "Turn around," Randy commanded, spinning me, until his hands lingered on my shoulders. "Not bad from behind. Bend over and get that pot from the bottom shelf." I crouched instead. He pulled me back up. "Bend over. Need to see if you can follow simple instructions." His breath was hot on my neck as he adjusted my apron from behind, taking far too long tying the strings. "Let me show you the proper grip," he whispered, pressing against me. I pulled away. His whole demeanor shifted. He scooped out my wallet, snapped a photo of my ID, and held it up to the other cooks. "This is going to every kitchen in the state. They'll know exactly what kind of girl comes begging for work. An intimacy worker, apparently." He had a restaurant group chat open, and he typed, "She's just a scammer. Don't let her near your kitchens." He'd captured my home address, too. The kitchen went silent. Then he dragged me to the walk-in freezer. "When I let her out, she'll either blow me or never work in this town again," he announced. The lock clicked shut. I sat shivering, checking my watch and mentally noting every violation I'd witnessed. 20 minutes later, Randy opened the door with a smirk, ready to be reasonable. I walked out without a word. Moments later, the owner burst in. "Has the health inspector arrived yet? I heard she'd be here by now." He stopped when he saw me, still shaking, and hurried over. "Inspector Sinclair, I'm so sorry I wasn't here to greet you properly." His genuine excitement drained Ryan's face of all color. The knife clattered to the floor. I left immediately, but I didn't know then that Randy had already posted my address. Within hours, angry chefs were planning revenge. My phone buzzed with messages in the group chat. "Watch out for this one. Claims to be a health inspector, but she's just a scammer. Lives at 4782 Maple Street, Apton 3B. Dozens of chefs saved my address, added their own lies, and shared my grimacing photo with defamatory captions. When I pulled into my complex, I saw a suspicious van. Taped to my door was a printed photo of me labeled liar. Inside, I locked the deadbolt and leaned against the door, trying to steady my breathing. Over the next hour, I documented everything. Screenshots of messages, photos of vandalism, timestamps of each threat. My official start date was still 5 days away, with 5 days for this to spiral completely out of control. The next morning, pounding on my door revealed 2 men in chef whites, one recording. They left without talking, but their message was clear. I couldn't stay trapped forever. I forced myself out the back exit and headed to my first pre-inspection restaurant, a smooth visit with no recognition. But at the second location, head chef glanced at his phone and blocked my path. "You need to leave. We don't serve your kind here." I complied, cheeks burning. More messages arrived, a voice note of heavy breathing, a photo of my car, and a text from Randy. This is just the beginning. Harassment escalated. Chefs showed up at every restaurant I tried to inspect. Security cameras caught strangers trying my door handle at night. Someone left a box of rotting fish outside. My tires were deflated twice. I kept detailed records, every message, every incident. On the fourth day, I arrived at a small bistro and ran into the same line cook from Ryan's kitchen. He pointed his phone at me and whispered to open the group chat. Phones clicked. I maintained my composure and left without argument. My blood pounded as I drove away. That night, 3 chefs spray-painted my door and tried to jimmy the lock. Building security got involved. "I'm getting complaints all week," said the guard. But when I showed him camera footage, he promised to file a report and hinted the management might ask me to leave if disturbances continued. Randy was aiming to get me evicted. The next day, my supervisor, Connor, had news. 6 restaurant owners had filed formal complaints against me, alleging unprofessional conduct. I calmly presented my evidence of coordinated harassment, screenshots, photos, eyewitness accounts. Several owners withdrew their complaints, admitting Randy's threats. Connor cleared me and opened an investigation into his interference. With his support, more restaurants cooperated. Tired of Randy's bullying, they shared stories of his intimidation. I used a fake social account to join chef forums, discovering a decade-long pattern. Women plagued by harassment, staff forced to cover up violations. Some were driven out of the industry entirely. Armed with this, I scheduled an official follow-up inspection at Randy's restaurant. Numerous critical violations awaited. Raw and cooked food cross-contaminated, grease buildup, expired items hidden behind newer stock, and a broken hand-washing station. I documented everything while his exhausted sous chef, Walton, slipped me messages Randy had sent instructing staff to lie. That evening, his desperate campaign peaked. 5 chefs at my door, pounding and shouting. One attempt at breaking and entering was caught on camera. Building management, now alerted by security, vowed immediate action next time. Randy's network was fracturing. 3 weeks after his first attack, the health department suspended Randy's restaurant license. His professional network turned on him. The State Restaurant Association revoked his membership, culinary schools banned him, and other districts refused to hire him. Walton was promoted to head chef. The owner pledged reforms. Staff who once feared Randy now reported code violations proudly. I continued inspections, now welcomed as a partner in public health. One day, I found a card and small gift from dozens of restaurant workers, thanking me for standing up to Randy and making the industry safer. My ordeal spawned new department policies, anonymous reporting of inspector harassment, mandatory training on professional conduct, and stronger alliances with restaurant associations. By the time my official start date arrived, the culinary district had changed. Kitchens ran on respect instead of fear. Former victims of Randy, servers, line cooks, sous chefs, returned to the industry. Even Randy himself resurfaced briefly at a food truck 2 districts over, only to be promptly dismissed when his reputation followed him. Today, I conduct routine inspections with pride, knowing that standing firm against one abusive chef helped transform an entire community. What began as a campaign to ruin my career became a movement to reform an industry. And as I prepare for each new inspection, I'm reminded that accountability and integrity are more powerful than intimidation, and that true change often starts with just one person willing to speak up. I thought I was guiding my 16-year-old through first love, until I discovered her English teacher using my credit card to book a motel, and realized I was up against a calculated predator. When my daughter started coming home late, flushed, and secretive, I checked our synced iPad and found her in a motel room with Mr. Dalton. Instead of charging in blind, I teamed up discreetly with the school counselor, recording conversations, tracking attendance gaps, and gathering every text and photo he'd tried to hide. By confronting him during class, foiling his escape at the Bayview Motel with the police, and guiding my daughter through counseling and court, I not only stopped him in his tracks, but helped her reclaim her sense of safety and trust. My daughter's 56-year-old teacher used my credit card to book a motel for them. When I knocked on the door confronting them, he told me, "She wants me." "Yeah, buddy, so does the police." My daughter was every father's dream. Up until age 16, she had no interest in dating, never even a crush on those boy bands, Big Time Rush or One Direction. Honestly, most men are so horrible that I would have been more than happy for her to move in with her girl best friend and maybe a few cats. But then came the day every parent dreads. She came home looking zoned out, but not in a teenage depression sort of way. Her cheeks were flushed, and there was a spark in her eye. My paternal instinct kicked into overdrive. I knew it was a boy, but if I mentioned it, she would go into full teenage mode and ignore me. So I pretended not to notice. Day after day, she made it more obvious. 10 times more effort into her outfits, more money on makeup, constant smiling at her phone. And I, ever the supportive dad, thought, I'm glad she wants me in her life. Finally, she asked for advice. Hey, Dad, how do you know if a boy likes you? Honey, most men are idiots. They can't hide their emotions. If you're unsure, take that as your sign he doesn't. I'm not unsure, she pouted, typical teenage eye roll. I sighed and stayed silent. A few minutes later, she was smiling again. Over the next few days, things progressed. She came home at 6 instead of 4, with no excuse. I waited for her to tell me, but then she arrived with a purple mark on her neck and wearing a skirt. That wouldn't pass school dress code. She looked at the ground. Who is this boy you're seeing? I don't want to talk about it, she said. I pressed on. She continued reluctantly. Dad, he treats me well. Buys me nice things, makes me feel special. He isn't married. I mean, in a relationship. I raised an eyebrow. Married? What the? She went super red and bolted into her bedroom, slamming the door. Something wasn't right. 16-year-old. Boys are broke. Plus, my daughter never slips up in conversation. I had a terrible gut feeling. I strode to the family iPad. Years ago, I'd synced its camera roll to my daughter's, never telling her. Usually, it was just Instagram screenshots or flower crown selfies. This time, I saw her and her boyfriend, on his lap in a hotel room. My heart pounded as I recognized his face. Mr. Dalton, her English teacher. It all made sense. His constant praise, that odd attention at parent-teacher conferences, the gifts. Everyone had been talking about buying him a retirement gift in the parent group chat. Bile rose in my throat. I wanted to beat his brains in, but I knew I needed my daughter's trust. So I walked to her bedroom and knocked. Come in, she said softly. I sat on the other side of the bed. Sweetheart, I just want you to know. I support you no matter what. I hope you and your boyfriend are happy, and please tell him I wish him all the best. Her face lit up. Thank you, Dad. You're the best. She hugged me. As soon as I left, I nearly collapsed. I was disgusted, but I knew it was necessary. The next day, Mr. Dalton texted me. Good afternoon, sir. Just wanted to let you know. Ava has been performing brilliantly in class this week, and I wanted to send you my utmost respect for how you raised her. We texted back and forth, and I admit I invited him to dinner. He agreed, not knowing it would be his last meal. I suggested Morello's, an upscale Italian downtown, but realized I needed help. I couldn't handle this alone. The school counselor, Melissa Winters, impressed me with her firm professionalism. I arranged a meeting. Her office was cozy, full of plants and mental health posters. Mark, come in, she said, closing the door. What's going on? I placed my phone on her desk. Listen to this, I said, playing my recording of Ava and Dalton's conversation, then our text exchange. For 45 minutes, she sat pale and still. When it ended, she whispered, How long has this been happening? A few months, maybe more, I answered. You're right to be cautious. Men like Dalton are manipulative. We need to build evidence carefully, protect Ava above all else. She drafted a list of discreet recording apps. Keep the dinner, but record everything. That night, anxiety gnawed at me. Every giggle from Ava's phone, every creak in the house made me jump. 3 days later, new photos appeared on the synced camera roll. Ava alone in a hotel room, smiling at the camera, dressed too maturely. I downloaded them and added them to my file. Then came Melissa's text. Need to talk. Found something. We met at a coffee shop. She slid me Ava's attendance records. Friday after-school periods missing, Dalton's planning time, and an old administrative email hinting at a similar incident 3 years ago handled quietly. I planted a tiny recorder in Ava's backpack pocket while she showered. The next day, our planned dinner, I called in sick and waited. When Ava got home, I feigned illness and canceled the dinner. Her relief was obvious. Later, I retrieved the recorder and downloaded the files. First, hallway chatter, then Dalton's, voice coaxing Ava. You know I'd never hurt you, right? People wouldn't understand what we have. Your father sees what I want him to see. Now, did you finish that college essay? He mentioned Berkeley, close enough for us to see each other regularly. His grooming was undeniable. I texted Melissa. Got audio, clear grooming evidence. That weekend, Ava grew secretive. Sunday night, I heard her crying through the door. Monday morning, a text from Melissa. Principal's office, 4 p.m. Bring everything. My heart raced. I organized recordings, photos, attendance logs into a timeline, and headed to the school. Outside, I spotted Ava arguing with her lab partner, Skylar, who mentioned her cousin had similar trouble and wore the same bracelet Dalton gifted Ava. On Ava's wrist was that silver bracelet. My pulse spiked. I ducked behind a car, watching Ava disappear into Dalton's classroom. She was furious. Melissa arrived with Principal Harrison. Harrison's military bearing left no doubt. This was serious. He escorted Ava and Melissa to a private room, then asked me to wait. Moments later, 2 security guards led Dalton out, his confident mask cracking. In the counselor's office, Ava sobbed, alternating between calling me a traitor and admitting, "He loves me." I reminded her of Skylar's cousin and the pattern Melissa uncovered. Her confusion shifted to dawning horror. Harrison announced Dalton was on administrative leave. The board and legal team were notified. On the drive home, Ava was silent until she asked, "How did you know about the hotel?" I explained my credit card had been saved and he'd used it. She gasped, remembering the pizza order. I was so stupid. "No," I said. "He was manipulative. Predators are experts at gaining trust." That night, she asked to sleep in my room, like when she was little. I made a pallet on the floor. As I turned out the light, she whispered, "I don't hate you. Thank you." "You'll learn to trust yourself again," I said. "I'm right here." In the weeks that followed, 2 more former students came forward with matching stories and identical bracelets. Ava agreed to counseling, but initially refused to testify. The DA had enough evidence, recordings, the motel incident, the gun, to charge him without her testimony. They called me to discuss a plea deal. 10 years, parole after 7. We pushed for more. One afternoon, Melissa called. Skylar's cousin Jade wanted to talk to Ava. I was surprised when Ava agreed. At a coffee shop, Jade, now 19 with bright blue hair, confirmed Dalton's grooming pattern, promises of travel, isolation from family. Ava admitted, "He told me we'd go to Greece after graduation." I raced home in silence, imagining the damage that could have continued. That night, I found Ava under the oak tree in our yard, tears in her eyes. "I want to write my own statement," she said. I nodded. "It's brave." The day before court, she wrote for hours, describing how Dalton isolated her and made her doubt herself. When she read it to me, I choked up. "This is perfect," I said. "Just like you." At the hearing, Ava stood at the podium in her blue dress. Her voice trembled, then grew strong. "You made me believe I was special, Mr. Dalton. But now I know you're just another predator who couldn't succeed with women your own age." The judge denied the plea deal. The DA was confident Dalton would face at least 20 years once the trial concluded. Life found a new rhythm. Ava transferred schools, joined the debate team, and researched colleges, now with a purpose beyond romance. One evening, she told me, "I want to start an anonymous blog about warning signs." I smiled. I'd be proud to help. "Before the trial?" she asked. "How did you know?" I admitted I'd seen the hotel photos on the synced iPad. Instead of anger, she said, "Thank you for not telling me sooner. I wouldn't have understood." At the preliminary hearing, Dalton pled. Guilty to all counts, 25 years, no parole for at least 20. "Good," Ava said quietly. One late October night, she looked at the stars and murmured, "I'll be okay. Not today, but eventually." I wrapped an arm around her. "I'm here for all of it." A month later, she showed me her blog draft, beginning. "I was 16 when I thought I fell in love with a predator. This is how my father saved me, and how I learned to save myself." I read it with tears in my eyes. She rolled her eyes and smiled. "Nobody's perfect, Dad." "I know," I replied. "But you're pretty close. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep children safe, but love, vigilance, courage, and action might be." She told me, "You're just a phase," so I quietly built a life she no longer fit into. After 2.5 years of viral weekends and festival flings, Jade dropped the bomb that I was merely a placeholder until she finished having fun. Instead of begging for a future she didn't want, I shifted my energy. I stopped planning our dates, reclaimed my weekends for woodworking and a hiking group, and quietly closed on a fixer-upper while she was off at Coachella. As she chased new party friends and posted arm-in-arm selfies captioned, "Making memories before I'm tied down," I tore out cabinets by day and met Aria, a pediatric nurse who loved my homemade pasta, by night. Months later, when Jade tried to circle back claiming she was finally ready to settle down, she found I'd traded placeholders for real commitments, a home with my name on it, and a partner who saw me as forever, not just a phase. She said, "You're just a phase. I'll settle down when I'm done having fun." I said, "Good to know." Then I quietly rearranged my life in a way that left her completely out of it. Months later, this is what she saw. I'm 31 and was with Jade, 29, for 2.5 years. We met through mutual friends and hit it off immediately. She was vivacious and spontaneous, the life of every party, while I'm more laid back. Year 1 was great. By year 2, cracks began to show. She'd disappear for entire weekends with her girls, go to music festivals without inviting me, and forge new friendships in a YOLO lifestyle. 4 months ago, over dinner at my place, I mentioned my cousin's October wedding and asked if she'd be my +1. Jade laughed and said, "October? That's 5 months away. Who knows where we'll be then?" When I pressed, she sipped her wine and said, "Connor, let's be real. This is fun, but I'm not ready to settle down yet. I reminded her. We'd been together over 2 years. She shrugged. I'm 29. I want to travel, meet people, experience things, not plan weddings. You're comfortable and safe, but you're just a phase while I figure out what I really want. When I'm 32 or 33, I'll be ready for the settling down thing. Marriage, kids, whatever. I said, good to know where I stand. And she returned to scrolling Bali influencer stories. That night I decided, if I was her phase, I'd behave accordingly. No drama, no begging, just practical adjustments. 3 months later, I stopped planning dates, stopped stocking her fridge, and stopped integrating with her festival-going friends. While she chased Vegas weekends, yacht parties, and new Instagram adventures, I quietly rebuilt my own life. I enrolled in a woodworking class, joined a Saturday hiking group, volunteered teaching kids to code, reconnected with old friends, and, most importantly, looked for a home of my own. With no announcement to her, she was at Coachella when I closed. I bought a 3-bed, 2-bath fixer-upper with a huge backyard. I spent weekends tearing out cabinets, refinishing floors, and painting walls. I posted nothing online. This was, for me, not for show. Through that hiking group, I met Arya, a 28-year-old pediatric nurse with a love of dogs and dad jokes. We clicked over terrible trail mix and worse puns, just friends at first. Still technically with Jade, even if I was just her phase. Meanwhile, Jade's Instagram escalated. Arms around random guys, captions like, making memories before, I'm tied down. When her friend Brittany commented, live your life before you're boring later, Jade replied, exactly. Plenty of time to be boring. She had defined me as boring. Message received. In month 3, while Jade was in the desert at Burning Man, I taught Python at the youth center. A mom picked up her kid and said, you're so good with them, do you have kids? I laughed. My girlfriend was explicitly avoiding anything boring like commitment or children. That night I texted her, we need to talk when you get back. She returned sunburned 3 days later. Over coffee, I thanked her for calling me a phase. It clarified things. I don't want to be anyone's placeholder. Let's end this clean. She was shocked. This wasn't the script she'd expected. I drove her home. We broke up. 2 months later, Jade's fun phase became a highlight reel of parties and trips. I threw myself into renovating my house and my new routines. Arya and I grew closer. Jade's attempts to reconnect, 2 a.m. texts asking if I missed what we had, went unanswered. She even tried volunteering at the youth center, then vanished for more festivals. When she learned about my house from a mutual friend, she accused me on social media of making major life decisions in secret. The irony wasn't lost on me. She who called me a phase was furious I'd built a future without her. Last month, life really took shape. I'd moved in, the garden was sprouting, and I had started dating Arya, this time with no hedging. On Jade's 30th birthday, she texted, I've done a lot of thinking. I'm ready to settle down. With you. I met her at a cafe. She looked tired. She said she realized she'd been stupid and wanted a serious relationship. I asked, you're ready? After calling me a phase? She said love doesn't just go away. I reminded her her own words. She'd call me a placeholder. I told her the house was for my future, which she'd said she wasn't part of yet. She left in tears and has blocked me since. Now I live in the home I bought with someone who values me now, not later. Jade saw me as a phase. I outgrew waiting for her to decide I was worth settling for. Turns out neither of us was done having fun. But I found a definition of fun that didn't involve being tucked away until someone was ready. The best revenge wasn't revenge at all, but building the life I wanted with people who wanted me in it from day one. My mother-in-law crowbarred her way into our home, sold my 10-year vintage key collection for $300, and now my marriage is collapsing. What would you do? It started with a simple refusal to buy her a new phone, but when I came home to find my lock cabinet pried open and hundreds of irreplaceable skeleton keys gone, I called the police. Armed with CCTV and her own confession texts, I watched her walk into handcuffs, only for my wife to beg me to drop the charges and choose her. Mother over me. Now I'm filing for divorce, changing every lock I own, and rebuilding my life as a free man. My crazy mother-in-law stole my vintage key collection, so I called the police and had her arrested. My wife threatened to leave me if I went through, with pressing charges, so I filed for divorce myself. My mother-in-law is insanely entitled, and my wife's enabling of her has made our marriage very hard. Recently, Emil came to us demanding a new phone because hers was 2 years old and out of date. She threw a fit when I refused, getting on the floor and pounding her fists against the hardwood. I still refused, so she got up and left, but not before yelling that she'd be getting the phone. I have a collection of vintage skeleton keys worth a few $1,000s, all displayed in a lock cabinet. A few days ago, I came home to find the cabinet forced open and my entire collection gone. CCTV showed MIL prying it open with a crowbar. I called her right away and demanded she return my keys, but she said she'd already sold them at a pawn shop to buy that phone, and blamed me because I wouldn't buy one for her. My wife was on my side. until I said I planned to call the police. She begged me to drop it and even suggested I start a new collection. I refused. Those keys aren't just expensive, they're irreplaceable. I spent 10 years building that collection, but my wife kept telling me to let it go. How did Mile get into the house? My wife unilaterally gave her a key when we moved in. That's why. I eventually called the police. They took my statement about an hour after I dialed the non-emergency line. I had video footage, documentation of every key, and texts from Mill baiting her into a confession. When I demanded she give back my collection, she lolled, said not a chance, and called me a pathetic son-in-law with tacky taste. I made her admit which pawn shop she used and how much she got, $300 for hundreds of keys valued at $2 to $3K. She happily texted me the details, so when the cops arrived, they arrested her without question. The pawn shop handed over all the keys to the police before closing time. A couple of days later, I retrieved everything and stowed it in a secure safe. I inspected each key. Thankfully, they were all there. What a relief. I took time off work and barely slept for 2 days. The cabinet she wrecked is ruined. It'll go to the dump. It wasn't an antique. I paid $50 for it. That $300 payout felt like a punch in the gut. The broker clearly knew the true value. Anyone else hear Mr. Krabs laughing? I half joked. Legally, MIL should have repaid the pawn shop, but my wife paid them back out of our joint account. Mill lied, claiming the keys belonged to her deceased husband. He actually divorced her and left 15 years ago. Mill lives off Social Security and food stamps, holds garage sales for extra cash, and even collects our empty cans for deposit money. She gets around on an electric scooter with a trailer and owns a paid-off house. She wouldn't have money troubles if she wasn't overspending and relying on my wife. My wife and I had a huge fight when she got home. I told her I was done letting her enable that toxic behavior. I said I was changing the locks, banning her mother from the house, and that we needed marriage counseling, or I'd consult a lawyer about separation. I thought my wife would beg me not to, but instead she accused me of being horrible. Packed a suitcase and went to a motel. She looked for me to ask her to stay. I didn't. The next morning, she texted me to bail out her mother and demanded I transfer the money. I said no. She replied, "Wow, Zia." Then she drained a large sum from our joint account, probably bail money, without telling me. When I called the pawn shop, the owner confirmed that she'd repaid them the $300, then banned us both from his store. I can't blame him. I tracked my wife down at that same motel. She was shocked to see me when I knocked on her door. I confronted her about the money. She smugly said, "That's karma," and slammed the door. The next day, I changed the locks. With the landlord's permission, emptied my funds from the joint account, and stopped all automated payments. I left only my initial deposit, enough to keep the account open. From now on, MIL's bail and the pawn repayment are entirely my wife's burden. I consulted 2 divorce lawyers and chose the one who seemed less like she was just here for the paycheck. Papers will be served soon. I loved my wife, but I can't stay married to someone who values her mother over me. We'll split everything cleanly. Our incomes are comparable. She can have her hoarder mom. I won't change my mind. It didn't take long to hire my divorce lawyer, and she's as tough as advertised. She asked if I was sure I wanted to proceed. Once I laid out the evidence, she started the process immediately. Yes, this divorce is going to cost me, but I don't care. I'll rebuild my savings as a free man. I never wanted this rental house. Anyway, I'd have stayed in our old apartment until we could afford a home. Post-divorce, my rent will be much lower. While she bailed out her mother, she even threatened to call the cops on me when I went to see her. I texted that I'd changed the locks. She never checked her phone. When she finally returned and saw my text, she pounded on the doorbell cam, screaming. I watched unseen. When I let her in, she had puffy cheeks, tears, and a cat butt face. I handed her a new key and warned that if she gave one to her mother again, I'd inform the landlord, who's already furious she let MIL in. That was enough compliance. Plus, I'm moving out soon. Mill still denies wrongdoing and plays victim to my wife. She's banned from the house and I don't miss her. The broker threatened never to serve any of us again once he learned what happened. Mill might face lesser charges now that the keys are returned, but I'd like to see her punished in some way. After roughly a week of the silent treatment, my wife broke. She love-bombed me, cooked dinner, popped open drinks, and tried to entice me. I refused, saying I can't trust her food or drink. She cried, insisting it wasn't cheating. I told her I consider putting her mother first a betrayal. She begged for counseling and promised no more Mel move-in. I said it was too late. She admitted she probably would have left me if roles were reversed, then begged me not to divorce. I retreated with video games and cola. She banged on my door until I ignored her. She even tried seduction. Lingerie, aprons, everything. I stonewalled. She gaslit me with, "Am I not good enough?" I replied, "You were, but you're not anymore." She drank herself sick. I locked the door and set up a hidden camera. I found a one-bedroom apartment available in early mid-March. Rent is cheaper, it's walking distance to work, and I'll finally be able to ride a bike again. I'm taking the queen bed from the guest room since I paid for it and I prefer it. She can keep or sell the rest of the furniture. A few months ago, I anonymously reported MIL as a serious hoarder. Someone suggested notifying the fire marshal, so I did, in anger. Inspectors found rotten garbage, rodent infestations, exposed wiring, roof rot, and black mold. A fire hazard. My wife screamed at me, blaming me for her mother's house being condemned. I reminded her of every reason we're splitting up. MIL demanded my wife pay for cleanup. When my wife said she couldn't afford it, MIL attacked her, scratching and pulling her hair. Mill suffered a heart attack during the assault and died on the spot. An officer separated us. My wife alternated between blaming me and herself. Felt overwhelming guilt. Stress migraines forced me to take leave. Friends assured me it wasn't my fault. MIL was dangerously hoarding. Now I'm left to live with the consequences of standing up for myself and protecting what's mine.